Time and EDH Rec fame. We're going to ask him about his Jaleva deck, his famous Jaleva deck, and we're going to do a little breakdown of that deck. We'll compare some cards from Dominaria with his current cards, and maybe ask him some live questions. But before we do that, let's check out what's trending with the hashtag Filthy Casual. So we've got a couple of tweets we're going to pull up right now. Our first tweet is from. Give me the first tweet there.
Got Bullfrog.
I'm not seeing it. Our first tweet is from Bullfrog at Smeed22, 722 rather. Multani is secretly one of the best cards in all of Dominaria. 6 mana for a recursive creature that is pretty much minimally a 12/12 in any graveyard deck. Yes, please. Recurred and Gerard for a small combo. Yeah, that seems pretty strong, though you're not going to be running Multani as your commander in a Gerard deck, but you've got black and green to tutor him up, so that shouldn't really be a problem. Very cool. Next up, we've got something from Dana Roach over at Commander Central. What are some cards that feel ineffective or bad when you cast them, but always seem like bombs when someone else uses them? And any explanation besides luck or perception about why some cards tend to feel that way? Oh, man. Let's see. I feel like extra turn spells have been really ineffective for me. I feel like whenever I cast an extra turn spell, I'm just drawing a card, playing a land, and I'm sort of like hoping to hit some gas because I'm down to a few cards in hand. But when other people cast their extra turn spells, they just win the game, and it doesn't really seem to work out for me. So that's my bad luck, feel bad card situation. Next up, we've got something here from somebody else. James Sweet. Would you rather play in a 4-person pod against 3 Mass Land Destruction decks or a 1v1 against a CDH Baral deck? Ooh, neither one of those situations seems like a very good good game situation. I think I play in the Mass Land Destruction pod because everybody is just top decking. It's I don't know. Well, 1v1 Baral is gonna grind it out. Yeah, let's go Mass Land Destruction and roll the dice. Next up, we've got another one from James Sweet. One of my favorite decks right now is Brea Eggs. I promised my play group I'll only play it once per night since it can be irritating to play against. What advice do you have for people who love to pilot decks that people hate? So my advice for you is to find other people who play decks people hate. Play against land destruction, mass land destruction. Play against stacks. Play against counter spells, and I think that sort of deck would fit right into that kind of a meta. Yeah, especially stacks. You're going to have a ton of little eggs to sack and draw cards with. So next up, we've got a tweet from Max Crandell, Cranman2127, also from Commander Central. With master sets getting themed going forward, if there were an EDH master set, what would you want the 2 big chase cards to be? Reserve list still in place, no duels? Oh, it would have been the duels, Max. It would have been the duels. Let's say Phyrexian Altar, because that badly needs a reprint, and I love sacrifice themes. And how about the Praetors? I know they were just reprinted in Iconic Masters, but the Praetors are so cool, and really, I'd like to see them get into more decks because they're kind of fun to play against. Some of them are. So yeah, let's go with that. Patrick, from Commander Time. Should Karn wear pants? Yes or no. It depends on what Karn wants. For those of you who aren't familiar with this, in his original card in his original Planeswalker card, he was not wearing pants. But in Dominaria, he's got like a little loincloth pant type thing going on. So I think we'll let Karn decide. We have one from Blatco International. They have Magic card at Carl. I think we ran into this last week. I told you that Blatco. This is the guy who did that Captain America tweet, right? We're just going to skip this one. This is not. We're not going to have anything from Blatco in the future. I don't know what's going on with this. One more from James Sweet here. What is the best music to listen to during a casual game of EDH? Does it depend on how competitive your playgroup is? Oh, absolutely. I think you've got to be listening to some like Siberian death metal if you're playing against playing some battle cruiser magic, and maybe some like I don't know, some Tetris music if you're playing with people who are more puzzly, more fiddly with their decks. So yeah, is that our last tweet? All right, that's it. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to have Nate Burgess on to break down his Jaleva deck and talk about some Magic.
Oh yeah, look at the steam.
Filthy Casual brings you the content creators you love talking about the formats you love to play. Commander, Cube, Two-Headed Giant, Brawl, and more. Wednesday nights at 8, you don't want to miss it. Real estate!
Every Monday at noon, you'll see Mr. Chris. Fitness with Mr. Chris. All right, here we go. This is where you get shaky arms, and you gotta just picture you're on a happy place, nice beach, sipping Coronas. This is an assisted one-arm pull-up. So, I'm gonna jump up. The higher that I hold up on this band, the easier and more assistance it does. The lower, much harder, because you see it stretches much more, whereas if I'm grabbing it up at the top. So. Oh, that one gets your heart going. That one gets your heart going. That one gets your heart going. Woo! Fitness with Mr. Chris, Mondays at noon.
Welcome back to Filthy Casual. We're here with Nate Burgess. Nate, how's it going? All right. So Nate, you're pretty famous for Commander. Is that your main format, would you say? That's really the only reason to play draft, isn't it? Or sealed. They are good cards, especially with this set, I would say. How did you get into Commander? I think Patrick would be proud. And so you don't play anything like Plague Rats anymore? I don't think I've seen you play anything like that. Oh, do you? I've never. Who's your commander for that deck?
We're having
Okay.
issues getting his sound through. Hold on 1 second. Ask him to speak again.
Can you speak again?
Okay, no.
Check your mic.
We have audio coming
Is the audio coming through?
in. It says we have levels on him.
We may or may not be having issues with the audio. Are people in the chat talking about audio?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't hear Nate, but I have him coming through our master right now.
I can hear you. I could translate for the chat. I could just tell everybody what you're saying, Nate. They could hear me speak twice.
Should be good now.
All right, let's try that one more time. So again, you play EDH. That's your main format. How did you get into that format?
Oh, I got into it a few years ago, and after taking a long break, I took a long break. I first started playing Magic when it first came out for about a year, and then I sold all my cards for about $100.
Ooh, Does it feel bad now?
Uh, I I might have had a Mishra's Workshop in there.
Ugh. All right.
So
Did you play multiplayer formats when you first started? I know Magic was a lot more casual back in 1993. Yeah.
it was. There weren't any card limits like Plague Rats. I could play as many Plague Rats as I wanted, and we would play, around the table as many seats as there are around the table.
That's fun. That's
Everybody
cool.
plays in the same game.
It's kind of like pre EDH.
Yeah.
Um, so we've got Battle Bond coming up, Nate. Have you seen those cards? We've got new dual lands.
Yeah, I've seen the land cycle. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, what do you think about that? I
I'll
mean, they're
put
not
'em in.
fetchable, but
That's okay. I'll put them in commander decks because they're generally going to give you the mana you want without having to be tapped.
they're basically strictly better check lands, right? I mean, that's essentially what they are, unless it's late game and you've killed everyone off.
Yeah, and at that point, one
Who
extra
cares?
mana probably isn't going to help.
Exactly, exactly. So, have you played Two-Headed Giant before at all?
No, I haven't.
Would you? Are you planning to make an exception for this set?
I can try it out, sure.
Have you played
I
Conspiracy at
try.
all?
I have played Conspiracy Draft a little bit.
What did you think of that?
I kind of ignored all the cards that involved drafting
Okay,
and
so you just
and
played
just
real
grabbed
Magic.
commander cards. I drafted for the grabbing the commander cards like I always do.
Nice, nice. The best draft strategy.
Hmm.
Um, all right, so we're gonna do a little bit of a deck tech here with your Jaleva deck. This is sort of your one of your premier decks, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's right here.
Look at that. It's not even held together with duct tape or anything.
No, it's held together with a braid of black, blue, and red yarn there.
Very Grixisy.
I did that myself.
I like it. I like it. It adds that personal touch.
Hmm.
So, how long have you had this deck?
Oh, I guess 2 or 3 years.
Okay. So you didn't build it when she came out in that Commander product, then, right?
No, I picked it up about a year or two after she had already come out, while it was still reasonable.
Yeah. Okay. Is it back up again? That deck?
I think it might be back down again.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I haven't checked.
They did a second print run, which brought the price way down, but I haven't looked at it in years either. So, why this deck? What's fun about this deck? What do you like about it?
I like it because it's a Timmy deck for spikes.
Is that how you
It's
would
a Timmy
describe
deck.
yourself?
Well, the playing the deck is fun in that way because it's a Timmy deck because you're not looking for real combos between cards because each individual card has an outrageous mana cost and has a devastating effect on the board. So, and you get to just throw them out there without having to worry about things like card draw or ramping your mana too much. You don't have to worry about those
Yeah,
things.
you don't. It's kind of like Italian that way.
And, yeah, and it's totally random.
That's true.
Well, unless you manipulate the top of your deck, but you're also looking at everyone else's deck, like Atali is.
That's true.
So it appeals to the spike nature in that you have to make a decision at that time, depending on whatever everyone else has on the board.
Yeah, you have to make
Exiled.
in theory,
the
you have to
pocket.
make the best decision, right?
Yeah, I mean, usually the first thing I'll cast with her is somebody else's ramp spell.
Yeah. I've played against this deck a couple of times. Not a whole lot recently, but I think I played against it once, maybe a year ago, and it was
All right.
pretty nasty. I haven't played against it since you've tweaked it recently. Um, let's see here. So, oh, we just had a
Lights
little
out.
blackout. Yeah. Uh, oh, auto sensor lights. Um, so what is the deck? Does the deck aside from being completely random, does the deck have any kind of a strategy? You've got any kind of packages in there?
It's about a third of the deck is removal, just mass removal of whatever's not mine. and a third of the deck is taking other people's stuff, and now I get to use it. And a third of the deck is being able to do all those things over again.
I mean, if they didn't
There
want to
might be
have
some extra turns.
a couple of those. If they didn't want to have it
Yeah.
used against them, they should have been running it in the first place, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm just gonna hang on to it for a while.
So we've got your deck list up here somewhere. We can pull it up, and if people want to click through that, they can look through that as we talk about it a little bit. But so you've got extra turns. What are your extra turn spells? Are you running a large package, a small package? I see you're running Beacon of Tomorrows and Expropriate.
Yeah, those I like those the best. I'm actually cutting back on the extra turns.
Oh, why?
This version you're looking at, I've taken out some extra turn spells and I've put in the 3 signets instead to try to get a faster start.
How fast do you try to get Jaleva out? She costs 4 to cast, right?
Yeah, so it's usually around turn 4 if you're playing in a kind of casual mode.
Sure. Are you still running these 2 cards, Beacon and Expropriate?
I am. I like them.
They're good.
But I've cut out some extra turn spells because the last game I played with her, I accidentally took 5 extra turns in a row. Expropriate was one of them, and I think I hit Beacon of Tomorrow's twice, and there was the Miracle, Temporal Trespass might have.
Yes,
It's
that's
either
the one.
Mastery.
That's
Temporal Mastery. So I did that, and then at the end of all that, I cast Worst Fears on my next opponent.
it. Oof.
So, yeah, I mean, at that point, it kind of gets embarrassing, and you
So,
start apologizing to the
did
table.
you cast
so I've cut
Expropriate?
back on.
And they
I
gave you the
started with
turns?
Expropriate. They gave me 2 of the turns.
Ugh.
2 out of 3 of the turns.
Never give them the turns. Never.
Well, I had turns.
5 of
I
them.
took too many turns. Yeah, too many turns.
You won by concession that game?
Yes, because at the end of that, not only did I worst fear someone into blowing up some of their own stuff, but one player was dead and everybody else had half their permanents left, and it just stopped. It was done.
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't seem like there's much game left for the rest of those players.
Yeah, it's just gonna drag out.
So the other players had half of their permanents. Is that because you had stolen half of them with your theft package? You're running blatant thievery. I was gonna pull up some cards here. Blatant thievery, clone legion, and stolen identity at least.
Blatant thievery helps. Usually, when I'm casting blatant thievery, I usually take a land from everybody
Okay, yeah, that's pretty good.
because it's hard for them to get those back, and I get to ramp faster than everybody else. Clone Legion, whoever's got the best army, I borrow a copy of it. And Stolen Identity, it's repeatable. I can cast it over and over
Yeah,
if the situation works out.
and if Jalila survives.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's a fun one. I play that, or I was playing that in. Oh wow, I'm having a bit of a brain fart. Talrand, Sky Summoner. Put it on a Drake and just swing
sure.
in. Yeah. All right, what else are you running here? Sacrifice. Oh, okay. So the other half of the losing their permanents. You've got Curse of the Cabal in there and Din of the Fireherd. Those are both mass removal.
Yeah,
sacrifice spells.
those are both very effective spells, but they have outrageous mana costs. But if you don't have to worry about mana costs, then that's the kind of spell you want to cast.
Yeah, yeah. How is Din of the Fireherd? You're not running very many creatures in this deck.
It doesn't matter. If I've cast a Clone Legion or I've stolen someone else's creature, it counts.
Okay, sure, that's right. And you're running a big theft package, so there you go.
Yep.
Um,
Beacon of Tomorrows I like because I can use it again.
right. Even if you exile it with Jaleva, or that's right. Whenever Jaleva casts a
long as
spell
I-
from exile,
yeah.
it goes to the graveyard or
As
wherever it
long
would
as I
go.
cast it.
Right.
Yeah.
What else do we have here? Okay, so you've got a little category you're calling again. This is where you get your spells back again. extra value.
Yeah, if your deck is full of awesome things, then you want to do those awesome things
Again
more.
and again. Yeah.
Do it more.
So you're running Spell Twine, Sins of the Past, and you said Mizzix's Mastery is new.
It's the latest of that package, but it's a good one.
Okay.
That one usually also causes concessions.
Not
But
many.
each one of those, if there's an instant or sorcery in my graveyard, I get to do it again,
Absolutely.
and I don't have to pay for it.
Not many people are familiar with Sins of the Past. How did you find this card?
This was the original, but Spell Twine is more famous nowadays. It's also more useful in general, but
It hits 2 spells,
yeah,
right?
they're good.
So, yeah.
Mhm.
And then Mizzix's Mastery. Can you cast that alternate cost, the Overload cost from Exile with Jaleva?
No, but if I can do this from my hand, then everything I've done so far that game, I can do it again immediately in whatever order I wanted.
So this is a late game finisher.
Yes, that is exactly what happens.
I just take a couple more turns. I exile some of your stuff. I make you sack it. I steal it again, and that's the end of the game. So how does the deck usually win?
It usually wins either by taking someone else's stuff. It usually wins by concession, but after
Okay.
that, it wins by taking someone else's stuff and hitting them with it, or an army of the damned, army of zombies.
Okay, okay. So a large token army of something, some sort,
Yeah, sure.
as a backup. And then you've got a couple of other things in here that do similar stuff to Jaleva, I guess. Well, Galvanoth does. So you've got Galvanoth in there to cast those free spells. Cast Distant Mage to recur them also from the graveyard, and Vile Smasher to add some extra damage in.
Yeah, Vile Smasher is basically the new Gutter Snipe. I think I also have Gutter Snipe in here as well, but they have a similar purpose. Galvanoth gives me more bombs for free. It gives me an extra bomb every turn.
Yep.
Vile Smasher just hits everybody for 8 or 9, 7 to 9 mana whenever Jaleva attacks.
I've been on the receiving end of your Vile Smasher before.
Mm-hmm.
It's can be pretty bad.
Yeah.
And then Kess is a new addition for you as well.
Yeah, Kess is a new addition because she's cheaper and a little better than Charmbreaker Devils. But
Right.
they have a similar purpose where I get to do a spell again.
Now, Kess, you get to choose the spell, and Charmbreaker it recurs a spell at random to your hand. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. How have you liked the change?
It's an improvement because it's more reliable that I'll be able to get Kess out than it is Charmbreaker Devils because
I
it has a higher mana cost, and if I can get Jaleva out, I can get Kess out.
Right. Yeah. That they have the same exact mana cost, so that makes sense. What else do we have here? Oh, I was gonna say, have you tried running Atali in this deck as an extra helper?
It's on theme, but I have a very low creature count
Right.
because I'm keeping the number of instants and sorceries. I'm trying to keep that close to half the deck, like literally half the cards in the deck, so that whenever I cast Jaleva, I can reliably have half of those cards be bombs that I can use on the cards that I draw from my deck.
That makes sense. Absolutely, yeah. So, would you say this has been your longest standing deck?
It's the longest standing deck I've had in paper and that I still play.
Okay. What have been some of your other decks that have been long lasting, I guess?
I guess Reaper King and Memnarch came before Jaleva. I did builds and play tested those builds before I did Jaleva, but I haven't really kept up with either of them. And Reaper King doesn't have that much to expand upon it.
Reaper King is sort of, it's kind of known territory. If you're playing Reaper
Yeah.
King, you're kind of doing Reaper King.
When new sets come out, they don't really affect a Reaper King build at this
Yeah.
point.
They're not printing too many new Scarecrows.
Nope.
I don't know why. So you wanted to talk about some of the cards from recent sets and compare them to some of your current current deck list?
Sure.
All
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Because it's like every set that comes out, I look for it and I sort by the mana cost for instants and sorceries in the right colors, and I see if those big spells might be applicable. And about half the time, there might be one that's worthy.
Should we start from Dominaria and work back?
Sure.
So, from Dominaria, what were some of the cards that you looked at? I'm sure legendary sorceries were something you must have considered.
Yeah. If I have Yeleva out, then I can cast any legendary sorcery that needs a legendary permanent. So Karn's Temporal Sundering, I guess that's the big highlight from this set. But since I've been cutting back on extra turn spells, I'm not going to use it. But I did draft one, so I could if I wanted.
Did you get to play it in draft?
I did not.
Ah.
No. I drafted it, but I built a black-green deck.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually what I built in my sealed pool also. Did you look at Yawgmoth's Vile Offering then?
I looked at it, and if it's, I would like it better if it did not exile itself, because
Sure.
I am doing enough graveyard recursion that matters for these types of cards, and a lot of the extra turn spells exile themselves, which makes them a little less appealing.
I think most of the, if not all of the legendary sorceries exile themselves on resolution, except is it maybe Jaya's Immolating Inferno? That I think that one sticks around in your graveyard. I can't remember. It's not super important, really, is it?
Maybe, but since that's an X spell, it doesn't help with Yeleva's casting cost shenanigans.
Right. She doesn't let you set X for whatever you want from free.
Nope.
All right, so let's move back then to Rivals of Ixalan. Looks like you were looking at Brass's Bounty as a possible include.
I was looking at it mainly because it's really the only big instant or sorcery in that set.
Okay.
In the colors. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I would use it in this deck, though.
It's kind of like a red Boundless Realms, I guess. But you don't
Sort
really
of,
need mana,
yeah.
do you?
Yeah, and I'm not looking for artifacts either.
Right, yeah. Though, I don't know. Grixis Artifact Commander could be interesting. It's in two of the right colors. Would you play that deck, Nate?
Maybe. Grixis artifacts. No, that's not the kind of Grixis I think of. I guess the Mishra.
Yeah, that's true.
Artificer's Prodigy.
That's true. Mishra does do weird artifact combo shenanigans. Mishra's very strange. All right, so just the one from Rivals. So then Ixalan. Did you get anything in there?
I was looking at 3 of these cards. Star of Extinction is a possibility, but since it's not a one-sided board wipe, I want board wipes that keep my stuff around.
You want to keep Kess on the board. Or not Kess, you want to keep Delave on the board.
I do. Most of the time. Unless she's out of spells, and then I do want her to die so I can recast her.
Sure.
But let's see. River's Rebuke that's decent. I might consider using that.
Yeah, River's Rebuke is basically like a targeted Cyclonic Rift at sorcery speed.
It is, yeah. And that could be... That's worthy. I think that's worthy.
Yeah. Are you going to try to make a slot for that, or not so much?
I might try it out. I'm not sure what I'd cut at this point, though.
That's always the problem if you've had a deck for a while. You tune it to a certain point, and you're like, well, this card is really good, and I would love to put it in the deck, but what do I cut for it?
Yep.
What else did you
I
get
like 'em.
in Ixalan? Boneyard Parlay?
Yeah. I forget what this does though.
So it's a
I
fact
think
or
it's like
fiction
a fact or
reanimation.
fiction. Yeah. If I don't have enough creatures in this deck for me to care about bringing my creatures
Well,
back.
it's actually not your graveyard. It's in graveyards,
Oh.
plural. Any graveyards.
Hmm. So it
I can let me pull.
Yeah,
it
it
up here.
doesn't
Can
work
we get?
in the early game.
Yeah. Let's pull up Boneyard Parlay. Can we pull it up on the screen? From graveyards, yeah, and then an opponent separates them into two piles. Yeah, not great in the early game. But I mean, you're not running Clone Legion for the early game either, are you?
Yeah, that's a good point. Boneyard Parlay is one step beyond Clone Legion though, because Clone Legion they just have to have creatures, and Boneyard Parlay they have to have dead creatures. So that's another.
But
that's
you're killing
another
their creatures
step.
all the time. You're so good at that.
You have to take an extra step
Yeah, I
for
suppose
Boneyard
so.
Parlay to work.
I suppose so. But you seem to really enjoy recycling all these graveyard things, so I don't know. And then, all right, so we'll go one step back. You've got C17, you've got Kindred Dominance and Disrupt Decorum.
Yeah, Kindred Dominance it's a potential card for this deck.
So
But
that one
I
is
think
a board wipe for a specific tribe?
it's like it board wipes everything that's not a particular creature type.
Okay. So in this case, you would choose Vampire or Wizard, probably.
Yeah.
And then wipe the rest of the board.
Yeah. So it's a good effect. But I think I like Disrupt Decorum better than that card.
Have you actually tried this card yet?
I haven't tried Kindred Dominance, but Disrupt Decorum does it's undercosted. I'll put it that way.
It's costed for fun.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite play that I had with the Disrupt Decorum was casting it regularly, and then on my next turn, I think I cast it with Kess. So everybody had to attack everyone else. Everyone had to attack everyone else for 2 turns. It was glorious.
Yeah. I think the correct response to Disrupt Decorum is for the next person to immediately do a board wipe.
Probably, yeah. Though, I don't know if it came to you as the next person, would you wipe the board? Your creatures are flying, so you're gonna get in anyway, aren't you? Kess and Jaleva are anyway.
Well, as the first person after Disrupt Decorum is cast, you're going to leave yourself open to more players
To all the
that have to
attacks.
attack you.
That's true, because your defenses are down.
Yep.
So you're gonna attack first and then wipe the board.
Well, sure. Or maybe cast some stupid kind of blocker in the second main.
Some kind of something.
Yeah.
All right. Let's bring on some live questions. Let's see if anybody has any questions in the chat here. Can you see the chat, Nate?
I cannot see the.
Chat.
I cannot see.
All
the
right.
chat. I can see the host. Chat.
All right. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to see the chat either. Let's find that out. I'm not seeing the chat. I could pull up my phone and look at the chat. Ooh,
You can see the cat. Hang on.
I can see the chat. Can we make that screen full size? No?
Then I won't be able to close it again.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Nate, talk to us about your cat real quick while I pull up the chat and ask you questions from there.
Okay. Yeah, this is one of my cats, and she's named Nebra after Darth Tenebris, who was the he was a Bith starship designer named Rugus Gnome, who was the mentor of Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Ooh. A big Star Wars fan, are you?
It's one of the extended novels that might or might not be canon. But I think it was made. I think it was written after the new series started. So maybe it is.
All right. I actually don't see. Okay, so I can see the chat now. So if the chat wants to go ahead and throw some questions at Nate, uh, I can throw those questions at Nate for you. Anybody, throw something out there. We've got Jaleva, we've got Dominaria, we've got I don't know, Nate. What else do we have recently that they could throw a question at you about? They could even ask a question about your cat.
Mm, good. Oh, where's the other one? No,
No,
that one's here.
well,
No questions.
not so far. Uh, somebody's asking me dogs or cats. Let's go with you first, Nate. Dogs or cats? We know you have a cat, or two cats at least.
Yeah,
You
I
also
prefer
have
cats.
dogs? Yeah. For me, I guess I don't know. I used to be a cat person, and then we got a dog, and now I'm an animal person.
You like them both?
I like them both.
Which one do you like better?
Nate, that's not a fair question. I probably hang out with our dog more. The cat is a little bit more aloof.
Hmm.
Uh, what's your most? Okay, I'm gonna have to lean in for this, guys. What's your most memorable moment in MTG?
Hmm. I don't remember. I blank my mind.
So,
Let's see. I'll pick a recent one. Yeah, I was playing in a six-person game, and I was playing Mare Bear. It was a group of people. Some of them were learning the game, and I was playing my Mare Bear deck, which is Mariah Careyberry, and she can steal other creatures. So the person immediately to my right, so I was going immediately after this person, they played Felidar Sovereign. And if you have 40 life in your upkeep, then you win the game.
how much life did you have?
And I had 40 life because the game had just kind of started and nobody was really attacking each other. So I used, is it Minamo, the land, the school at Water's Edge? It's
Yep,
either
that's the one.
Minamo or Mikokoro.
No,
Okay, yeah.
Minamo's
So it
correct.
untap Mare Bear at the end of that turn, and I'll just borrow that Felidar Sovereign. And I just said, "Does anybody have any responses? Do you want to? You want to just say I won the first game, and we'll keep playing?" And everybody's, yeah, yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah,
Because
I
the
mean,
points don't matter.
don't play Felidar Guardian anyway. It's just I don't know. I don't find it to be a fun card. What do you think? I mean, that's pretty epic to steal it from the person playing it, but do you actually run
Yeah,
it in
I
any
mean they were.
decks?
It was a group, and some of them were just learning the game, so I was helping them learn.
Sure. So you taught them not to run Felidar Guardian.
It I don't think it was a life gain deck. It might have been. If it's a life gain deck, then sure, you can run Felidar. Is it Guardian or Sovereign? That I'm thinking
You're
of?
right. I'm sorry. Felidar Sovereign. All right. Well, it looks like the questions have petered out a little bit. If anybody wants to throw one up, oh no, we've got one. What's your highest of the high and lowest of the low while playing? I don't know.
Getting mana screwed for the whole game is pretty low. because then you're just watching and discarding eventually.
Yeah, that always sucks. And what's your? I mean, your highest is probably just to ramp out your commander on turn 2 or 3, right?
Yeah, you can do that with signets and a soul ring. You could have a turn 2 Jaleva.
Yeah, yeah, that would be pretty sick. Have you done that? I assume you must have at one point.
I haven't been running signets until recently, so we'll see what happens.
Oh, was that a conscious decision because you didn't want to bring her out too quickly?
It was a decision because I didn't like signets, but now I do.
Okay.
I used to not like them.
Okay, so let's actually segue here a little bit. So, signets are a mana rock. They're ramp spells. We know you have a certain theory, I guess, or formula for lands in EDH. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so looking at different commanders, looking at their EDH rec data, it's a pretty close fit between the number of lands that an average deck runs and the mana cost and the number of colors in the commander's mana cost.
And
And
you find that works out pretty well?
I do think it works out pretty well. And for new commanders, it makes it easier to start building a deck, basically.
Okay, yeah. And now something else you've been talking about that you've been working on is a formula for ramp spells in a deck. Is that a function of land in a deck, or the commander cost or colors at all?
I think it is, but I haven't nailed down what the right numbers should be. I do
Okay.
think that's related.
Uh, have you have you worked out any sort of number that like a guess or something? What are you
Mm.
experimenting with?
I do know that if you have a commander with an activated ability that costs mana, then you want to throw in an extra mana rock, like a Gilded Lotus or a Thran Dynamo.
Okay, interesting.
So something like Azor, the Lawbringer, or something like Una Queen of the Fae, for example. You can't really build an Una deck without using a lot of mana rocks and really a lot of the expensive mana rocks. The mana
Yeah,
rocks that are in real world dollars very expensive at this point.
yeah. Because blue and
So it's
black
tough to
don't ramp very well.
yeah, it's tough to build an Una deck nowadays.
Well, what about like Urborg and then Swamp Doublers or Cabal Coffers?
Well, of course you're gonna run those as well, but
Sure.
just to get off the ground, because Una costs 6 CMC to start with.
That's true. Yeah, she's
So
pretty costly.
yeah. So you're going to have trouble casting her and using her ability in the same turn.
So here's a curveball, I guess, for the activated abilities. Let's talk about Joda, Archmage Eternal
Okay.
from Dominaria. So he costs 3. Well, he costs 4, 1 red, blue, white. Uh, but then he has an activated ability for all 5 colors. How do you calculate the lands for that kind of a deck?
Hmm. Okay, so there are a couple of lands that will give you Wooburg if you feed them mana or do something with them, right?
I can think of 2. There's the one from Amonkhet, and there's an older one that's like a worse version of the one from Amonkhet.
Is it Crystal Quarry or is that something else?
Crystal
Yeah,
Quarry, maybe
Crystal
the old
Quarry.
one. Yeah, okay. The one from Amonkhet is some kind of cascading something or other. It's basically the same thing, but just indestructible.
Right. So uh, for the land base of that, hmm, you might slightly be weighted towards just the casting cost of your commander so you can get him out.
Sure.
Although the colors you're not using are your ramp color green, for one thing.
Right, which is important, right? You want to ramp.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd build. I would build it to a 5 color specification.
So you would
I
count
would
him
pretend that.
as 4 CMC and then 5 colors. So 30,
Yeah,
39 lands?
so 40,
40
40.
lands.
Yeah.
Yes, 40 lands. And then some
Yep.
number of mana rocks. Or would you just run green ramp spells for that?
I would run both green ramp spells the and all the signets. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, all the signets. Uh, Joda actually, while we're on the subject, looks kind of similar to Jaleva. Jaleva poops
From
out
what
big
I've
spells
seen
for
so
free,
far,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
From what I've seen of the deck tech so far, yeah, Commander's Brew had one recently, and it looked a lot like a Jaleva review.
Okay.
He's using a lot of the same cards, Curse of the Cabal and Den of the Fire Herd. Yeah, Joda's using those too.
That does sound like a Commander's Brew version. I feel like the more competitive scene is dropping like the Eldrazi Titans and stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't.
If you aren't already doing that in your other decks.
Sure, yeah. Have you been at all tempted to build Joda?
Not really.
You don't really want to
I already
expand
got.
into green and what's the other color you get? White?
Yeah, that's okay.
Happy with what you
I've
have.
already got that itch scratched there.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, we're gonna take a real quick break, and when we come back, we'll do a little goodbye segment with you, Nate, and we'll be off.
Okay.
Oh yeah, look at the steam.
Filthy Casual brings you the content creators you love talking about the formats you love to play. Commander, Cube, Two-Headed Giant, Brawl, and more. Wednesday nights at 8, you don't want to miss it.
Real estate! Every Monday at noon, you'll see Mr. Chris. Fitness with Mr. Chris. All right, here we go. This is where you get shaky arms and you gotta just picture you're on a happy place, a nice beach, sipping Coronas. This is a consistent one-arm pull-up. So, I'm gonna jump up. The higher that I hold up on this band, the easier and more assistance it does. The lower, much harder, because you see it stretches much more, whereas if I'm grabbing it up at the top. So. Oh, that one gets your heart going. That one gets your heart going. That one gets your heart going. Woo! Fitness with Mr. Chris, Mondays at noon.
Okay, we're back with Nate. We're gonna do a quick little ask about what he's been up to lately on EDHREC and or other media. So Nate, you're writing. You finished your original series on EDHREC, right? You were doing all about the partners.
Yeah, I did a series where I built a deck around each of the partners, trying to focus on what that partner did best.
And now you've transitioned
Yeah.
to. I mean, you've finished that, right? You've written about all the partners, and now you're moving on to just the commanders in general, right?
Yeah. So after the partner series, I did a couple of the uncommanders that I liked, and recently I've been doing the just the recent commanders that either are really popular that I think are going to be really popular, or that I like, or have more potential than the rest of the world thinks. Some of these
Sure.
commanders are better than you think they are.
I agree with you, actually. So last week you actually had your most recent come out, and who did you write about for that one?
Oh, for that one, it was Grand Warlord Rada.
So she adds a mana to your mana pool for each attacking creature you control,
Yeah, in green and red.
and she has
She's an elf that
haste.
taps for mana.
It seems pretty good, right?
Yep. 3/4 with haste isn't, you can't really complain too much about that.
Mm-mm.
And as long as you have a bunch of token creatures or just a bunch of cheap creatures or just a bunch of creatures and you attack, then you get a bunch of mana.
So is that how you built it then? Tokens?
I have some tokens in here. I did it. The main focus of this deck is that it's all creatures. It's like a Rurik Thar worthy deck. So
Yes.
there
Yep.
are. I went deep on the creatures with this article. There are 62 creatures.
That is a very high density of creatures.
That's a
38
lot.
lands, right? And 62 creatures?
Yeah, 37 lands.
Okay.
62 creatures.
And well, and then your commander as the 64th or 63rd or whatever.
63rd. Yeah,
All right.
that sounds right.
Oh, that's good. What does the deck aim to ramp into? What's the top of your curve there?
Oh, the top of the curve is I got a couple dragons like Udvara Hellkite, Skyline Despot. I like the Monarch mechanic,
That is a
and I
fun
like free
mechanic.
dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who doesn't love free dragons?
Omnath.
Okay, Omnath. Yep.
Everybody likes free dragons.
Everybody likes free dragons. Yeah, nothing quite says commander like nothing quite says you're doing commander right like free, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'll just
That's what it's all about.
cast this for free. Uh, Very good. All right, and then also people may not know, but you and I are on Commander Time together. We recently released a Dominaria brew episode, and we have another one coming out soon, right? With Whisper, our mono black Dominaria brew session.
Yeah, we all brewed around mono black Dominaria legends like Demon Lord Belzenlock.
That was an
I picked
interesting
up a few
one.
of those in the draft, and Whisper Blood Liturgist,
Yep.
and I talk about brewing a zombie tribal deck with Josu Vess Lich Knight because
Just
he gets free zombies
that's right,
for
and
free.
nothing says value like free. All right, very good. So if people are trying to reach out to you on social media, where can they find you?
On Twitter, I'm at Mr. Plorg, and the podcast is at Command Time.
Very good. And of course, all of your articles are on EDH Rec. And very good.
Sweet.
All right. Nate, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a blast
Yeah.
to see your face. I haven't seen your face before.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Do you want to? Yep. Okay. All right. So thanks, guys. Come again next week at 8 o'clock. We'll have another fun guest on. We're talking about getting a couple of different people, and I think next week we're going to have Dana Roach from the Commander Central podcast on here. So tune in at 8 on next Wednesday, and we'll see you there. Filthy Casual brings you the content creators you love talking about the formats you love to play. Commander, Cube, Two-Headed Giant, Brawl, and more. Wednesday nights at 8, you don't want to miss it.
Real estate! Every Monday at noon, you'll see Mr. Chris. Fitness with Mr. Chris. All right, here we go. This is where you get shaky arms, and you gotta just picture you're on a happy place, a nice beach, sipping Coronas. This is a consistent one-arm pull-up. So, I'm gonna jump up. The higher that I hold up on this band, the easier and more assistance it does. The lower, much harder, because you see it stretches much more, whereas if I'm grabbing it up at the top. So. Oh, that one gets your heart going. That one gets your heart going. That one gets your heart going. Woo! Fitness with Mr. Chris, Mondays, and